You won't be so sick and broke and overloaded with work. Walk close with him.
Yeah.
Also, part of practice of being yourself out of the way, denying yourself and dying to self.
Yeah.
And, so when you do the combination of flesh and spirit.
Helps you win out over the flesh.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm not doing that. Crucify it.
Talk about self-control.
So it can be good to do fasting for health reasons before a spiritual fast for somebody who's just starting out, because they have so many toxins in their bodies. They're so used to eating all the time that it's going to be tough to fast for a day or two. So they kind of warm up to it. I remember the first time I decided to fast was one morning. When I got up, I decided to fast till noon. So I showered, shaved, dressed, had breakfast, and went off to work.
Not a good idea.
Eating breakfast every day was so ingrained that I didn't even think about it. I just had breakfast and off to work. Okay. This next section is 33 to 44. Leviticus 23. Spending a little time talking about feasts.
Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "Speak to the children of Israel, saying, the 5th day of this 7th month shall be the Feast of Tabernacles for 7 days to the Lord. On the 1st day there shall be a holy convocation. You shall do no customary work on it. For 7 days you shall offer an offering made by fire to the Lord. On the 8th day you shall have a holy convocation, and you shall offer an offering made by fire to the Lord. It is a sacred assembly, and you shall do no customary work on it. These are the feasts of the Lord which you shall proclaim to the holy convocations to offer an offering made by fire to the Lord, a burnt offering, and a grain offering, a sacrifice and drinking offering, everything on its day. Besides the Sabbath of the Lord, besides your gifts, besides all your vows, besides all your free will offerings which you gave to the Lord. Also on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered in the fruit of the land, you shall keep the feast of the Lord for 7 days. On the 1st day shall be a Sabbath rest. On the 8th day a Sabbath rest. And you shall take for yourself on the 1st day the fruit of beautiful trees, branches of palm trees, the boughs of leafy trees, and the willows of the brook. And you shall rejoice before the Lord your God for 7 days. You shall keep it as a feast to the Lord for 7 days in the year. It shall be a statute forever in your generation. You shall celebrate it in the 7th month. You shall dwell in booths for 7 days. All who are native Israelites shall dwell in booths, that your generations may know that I made the children of Israel dwell in booths when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So Moses declared to the children of Israel the feast of the Lord.
Praise God.
That'd be so neat to have a 7-day feast, wouldn't it? To just 7 days together, no work, just celebrating the Lord and eating and celebrating and waving your palm branches. I mean, we can't do that nowadays, unfortunately. You know?
I don't have any palm branches.
Well, that's why they took down the contact branches, you know, and the willow one.
The green now, people, what do you call them? You know, they have a foot.
Oh, the tree huggers?
Yeah.
They were shelters made of boughs is what it says here.
Yeah, that could be a little tough around here. You'd have to live on under your leaves.
But I mean, to be able to
and,
just be together for 7 days and
to spend time with the Lord.
And stuff. That's unfortunately not anything we can do, you know? What's the name of that feast?
Feast of Tabernacles.
Yeah, Feast of Booths, Feast of Tabernacles, maybe Feast of Tents. Just living outdoors in your tent.
There you go.
Oh, we're going. We have that in July over in Portland, right?
Yeah, I was thinking of that.
Yeah, but us that have to work, we can't just go go and spend all the time there. It's too bad.
Yeah,
But
I know.
it's so different now,
It is.
you know.
Yeah, well, they were mostly farmers and shepherds, you know, in Israel, so they, you know, take a week off, they could,
Yeah.
you know?
Every family and some state.
Yeah,
Self-employed.
yeah.
In the NIV, for verse 3 where it has convocation, it
Yeah.
says a day of sacred assembly.
Okay.
So, yeah.
When I first heard the word, it sounded almost like someone pontificating something. That's why I asked. because-
So the feasts of the Lord, I find that there are two ways to count them. One would be in verse 5, where the Passover would be one. And verse 6 is unleavened bread. And then in verse 10 is first fruits. Or I'm sorry, 16 is Pentecost. And then in 24 is blowing of trumpets. 27, Day of Atonement. And then in 34 is Feast of Tabernacles, or Feast of Booths. But some others come along and they break it up into those 5 sections divided by, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying.
Yeah.
So
That's how it's broken up.
They count 5. So, I don't know if you want to count 5 or 7. But I wanted to focus on the Day of Atonement.
He's not necessarily so.
Yeah,
That's the fall feast.
the 10th day of the 7th month.
Yeah. And let's see. Talk a bit about the high priest garments. Normally the high priest would wear something like this.
There's the 12 tribes.
Yeah, one stone for each tribe.
Yeah.
And it's, lots of colors, and they call these the golden garments or the royal garments because there's gold woven into the fabrics. And then down along the hem of this blue garment is a pomegranate and a bell, a pomegranate and a bell, so that there would be a noise when he walked.
Right.
But these are not the garments of Yom Kippur.
Oh.
On that day, he wore just linen garments.
No gold, no bells.
No bells. No. He wouldn't have the breast piece. He wouldn't have the ephod. It would just all be white. He wouldn't have the gold mitre around his forehead there.
Well, he was stealthy.
Stealthy.
Yeah. Hopefully quiet.
It's quite a hush day.
Yeah.
The only person in the tabernacle would have been him.
Oh.
So it's and he'd go into the Holy of Holies on that day.
That's an interesting depiction of the 12 tribes, because not that it would make a difference, I don't know back then, but they usually depict it with 4, 4, and 4, column 3. I've seen it like that too.
Yeah.
That's the artist's interpretation, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think it really
They really
details
knew.
it that much.
Yeah.
So we do the best we can.
Yeah. Not having first-hand knowledge.
They have different ways of drawing the cherubim on the mercy seat too.
Yeah, yeah.
We got some details, but not
Yeah, I don't
all
know.
of them. So as far as the priests going in with the bells, so they can hear if he's still moving, with a rope tied around his foot, or his waist, or wherever.
I'd be like, you didn't fight, I'm going after you. I'm going to start that.
Praise God. So, Leviticus 16 talks a lot about Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur.
That's what they call it, Yom Kippur, is the Day of Atonement.
Yes. Yeah, in Hebrew.
Dana
Yeah.
or Dana?
Yom.
Dana.
Y-O-M. Yom. Well, in Exodus 28,
It's Sunday.
let's see, Exodus 28, verses 4 and 5.
4 and 5.
And these are the garments which they shall make, a breastplate and an ephod and a robe and a broidered coat, a mitre and a girdle, and they shall make holy garments for Aaron thy brother and his sons, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And they shall take gold and blue and purple and scarlet and fine linen.
So that's this guy. That's what he's wearing.
Yeah.
And with the gold there, that's why they call it the royal garments. Or simply the golden garments. Leviticus 16, 3 and 4. Leviticus 16. Yep.
So 3 and 4.
Yep.
Yes.
Thus shall Aaron come into the holy place with a young bullock for a sin offering and a ram for burnt offering. He shall put on the holy linen coat, and he shall have the linen breeches upon his flesh, and shall be girded with a linen girdle, and within the linen mitre shall he be attired. These are holy garments, therefore shall he wash his flesh in water, and so put them on.
So it's a linen coat, linen breeches, linen girdle, linen mitre. It's all white linen.
Yeah.
So that was for the Day of Atonement.
Yes. Yeah, once a year, they go into the Holy of Holies. When you come before the Lord, it's just plain clothing. There's no royalty about us.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I went on the internet to ChristianAnswers.net, and they had this about it. You may have heard the story before. It has been said that because a high priest could be killed by God in the Holy of Holies if not properly prepared according to divine instructions, a rope was routinely tied around his ankle. Then if he dropped dead, his body could be dragged out. Various versions of this claim have been repeated in Christian and Jewish circles. As yet we have not located the original source, but apparently it originated long after the last Jewish temple was gone. The biblical and historical evidence indicates that there was no rope, at least not in any common use. Right? Dr. W.E. Nunnally, professor of Hebrew and early Judaism, has reported the rope on the high priest legend is just that, a legend. It has obscure beginnings in the Middle Ages and keeps getting repeated. It cannot be found anywhere in the Bible, the Apocrypha, the Dead Sea Scrolls, Josephus, the Pseudepigrapha, the Talmud, Mishnah, or any other Jewish source. It is just not there.
You think it would be mentioned, right?
Someplace, yeah.
So how'd they get them out if they were struck dead?
Probably another high priest would have to pull them out.
Yeah, there's nobody else to go in.
Right. That may be, maybe that's how that story got invented, thinking,
No,
how would
It
they
showed
do
up
it?
long after. But, the Biblical Studies Foundation, loosely associated with Dallas Theological Seminary, similarly report